So we'll be leading the Quality and Befriending panel. Our panel has been selected based on prime examples of collaboration and partnership that have been notable during my assessment of projects for the Quality Award, or that have been identified by Victoria through discussions in training and events.
So we want to start by saying a big thank you to our lovely members who have donated their time and experience to our panel today. We know that the opportunity to learn from others, from those working on the ground in similar roles, is a top benefit of any of our events, and we're certain this segment will provide lots of opportunity for peer learning and support.
And we hope that all of our attendees today have had the opportunity to explore your delegate pack and familiarise yourself with the speaker biographies and information. But for anyone who's not had the opportunity to meet them, our panel members are Calley, who's the volunteer coordinator at HomeLink Family Support. Give a wave. See, there she is. Got Chiara, who is the services and programs lead from the Welcoming Association. Give us a wave. Jean, who's the befriending and mentoring services manager from Volunteer Glasgow. Hey, Jean. We've got Mairi, who's the project coordinator from Shetland Befriending Scheme. Hiya. Nicola, the youth befriending project manager at Space Broomhouse. Hello. We've got Stuart, who's the engagement and development lead from CASE. Hiya. And Hack, who's our volunteering coordinator from AGK Merton. Good to see you. Where are you?
Please, everyone, give a big welcome to our panel. As we discuss examples of collaboration and partnership in befriending, please do share any questions you may have for our panel members in the chat box. For time management, we intend to collate any questions and do written responses after the event today. You will also be split into small teams after the panel to discuss. So for now, I'll hand it back to Hayley to begin our panel discussion with our Equality Award holders.
Oh, thank you. So the first question is for TAC. So part of our strategic plan is to encourage our members to establish micro networks by theme, type, or geography. So as many of our members know, our directory on the website can be navigated by many options, and that includes location. So TAC, AGK Merton, and several other projects in the Merton area have created a Merton forum. So could you please inform the room how you got involved in this and share some advantages of collective working with your neighbours?
Hello, everyone. So yes, as Hayley has said, I'm Zach from AGK Merton. Just for the people that don't know where Merton is, it's south of London, kind of around about the Croydon area. If you know your geography well, that's where we're based. As Hayley said, we are part of a Merton Befriending Forum, and that actually started around about early 2023. And it consists of many organisations that do befriending within the borough of Merton. So whether that is for young people or elderly people, we form to have a forum. So these include organisations such as Wimbledon Guild, Christian Care, St Raphael's Hospice, and other organisations. So we usually meet around about every 3 months or so, whether it's online like we're doing today or in person at a organisation that we choose. So we do split it in every equal time. So as Hayley mentioned, so what are the benefits of doing the forum? Well, one of them is that we share updates of our service and what is going on with each organisation, so that we can keep up to date with what everybody else is doing. But also, we do kind of see whether they are open to befriending referrals, and if they have a client that is perhaps more suited for that organisation, we can actually refer them onto our partner organisations, whether they are better suited. So just to give you an example, we have recently, I collaborated with St Raphael's Hospice, with a gentleman who would continue to receive their befriending because they have a better suited volunteer and due to the gentleman's condition. And also we've collaborated with Wimbledon Guild just purely because of the location of the client are better suited for their volunteers and they have more expertise there. Also, some of the things that we do discuss is obviously common issues, which has been mentioned already. So we can talk about recruitment. So one of the things is that we do is we collaboratively get a message across to see how we can recruit in the forum and actually share out the volunteers. But also we discuss resources as well as things that training events, courses that people might have come across, and we share them with all of our panels, and so that everybody can get basically the updates of that, and as well as the training awareness course. But that's it pretty much, Hayley. So thank you so much for sharing my experience, and hopefully that was useful for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tak. It's really great to hear about collaborative work taking place through the Merton Befriending Forum. And it sounds like a great example of partnership in action. So the organisation's not only supporting their own service users, but also actively helping each other to ensure no one in the community is left without any support. It's also really encouraging to hear how the forum is providing space to tackle challenges like volunteer recruitment, and that you're exchanging useful resources to strengthen each other's work. So that kind of collaboration really helps to build a stronger, more connected network of support. So it's great to hear about. Thank you. Got Chiara next, sort of on the same. So you've also connected with similar projects in your local area to access peer support in your role at the Welcoming Association. So I believe you used our directory to do this. And it's great to access peer support in an often very lonely role. So how have you found your micro network to be beneficial? Could you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we were able to connect with other projects operating in Scotland, doing one-to-one befriending with the same community as ours. So the commonality was the community we were working with, which is refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants. And funny enough, today at one of the breakout room, I learned about another project operating in Scotland, doing one-to-one befriending with New Scots. So I will follow that up after today. But basically, through this connection, we set up a micro network that I really wanted to create a space for befriending coordinator to share their experience and access some peer support, because we found that through individual conversation with other befriending coordinator, I found that it was actually quite an isolating role, and that working with this community brings unique challenges and opportunity. That's when you have the opportunity to discuss it in a group setting with other people in similar role, can really be better addressed and understood. So we came together, and last year for Befriending Week, actually, we organized a joint event with our staff member and volunteers to talk about health inequality in communities and how the role of befriending in tackle them. I have to admit that it was a bit difficult to meet this last year due to change of staff and some capacity constraints. So we weren't able to meet as regularly as we would have liked, but it's definitely something that we will follow up in the future, because I personally found it extremely beneficial and helpful to be able to share notes with people in a similar position than mine. And there is always a lot of, I think each project have a lot of knowledge to share, and sometimes having, for example, I inherit the befriending project in 2022 when it was already well established, and therefore having the external point of view can be inspiring for improvement that your organization hadn't thought about it beforehand.
There we go. Sorry, just finding my unmute button. Thank you so much, Chiara. So it's really great to learn the Befriending Week celebration about Befriending Week celebrations and using. Oh, hang on, have I got the right bit? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So it's great to hear about the campaign week as an opportunity to provide training and networking opportunities. So as an organisation, we host regular virtual networking events. So to ensure that people who are isolated geographically have got the opportunity to build support. But it's great to hear about micro networks happening in different areas across the UK as well that you guys are setting up for yourselves. So we really encourage all of our attendees today to access our website discover who your neighbours are and reach out, get a coffee, reach out for a phone call, and just to connect with each other. So if you are already a member of the network, do check your directory listing, make sure it's accurate, it's up to date, check your service descriptor, your contact details and everything else. And also in your delegate backpack, you'll find a copy of our new guide, which is your directory listing. So please access this support with your listing on our directory. I'm going to hand over to Victoria now.
Thank you, Hayley. So we've talked about micro networks. We're now going to talk about working with third parties. So at Befriending Networks, we strongly champion collaboration and collective working. For some befriending projects, this is a conscious choice, an opt-in approach. For others, the befriending relationship may be one-to-one, but naturally involves wider third-party collaboration. So for example, a dementia service often involves collaboration with a carer or with the GP, things like that. Children and young people services sometimes or often need to coordinate with schools, guidance teachers, parents, guardians, and more. Calley, drawing on your experience at HomeLink Family Support, what would you say is the biggest challenge you face when collaborating with third parties? And do you have any advice for tackling this challenge proactively?
Based on my personal experience at HomeLink, I'd say that the biggest challenge that we faced when collaborating with third parties is just ensuring that there's clear communication and understanding among everybody that's involved. Sometimes all organisations, when they come together, we can all have varying priorities and procedures and different ways of working. And this then can lead on to misunderstandings or delays. So to try and tackle the challenge proactively, and what's worked best in my personal experience is when there's regular scheduled times to kind of discuss things and clearly outline everybody's expectations of each other. This is normally best done face-to-face. And I'd always recommend starting these meetings by introducing everybody that's there, just so as everybody is aware of who everyone is and exactly what their roles are. It's important to have a clear agenda for these meetings as well, to kind of try and keep them focused and ensure that all important points are covered and things don't run off and you end up spending so much time discussing one thing and kind of not touching on all the topics that kind of do need covered. And then also after the meeting to kind of have a debrief, just to make sure everyone's clear on everything that was discussed, and that if any tasks have been assigned to individuals, that everybody's aware of kind of what's expected from them, and any time restraints, so that deadlines and things can be met. And also just circulating the minutes for these meetings as well can just kind of give everybody a wee recap of things that were discussed and just keep things on track. Another key point would be to just make sure that all the information and paperwork is shared amongst everybody involved, because there's normally one person maybe that's missed out and somebody's not read or heard a bit of information, and then they can kind of feel out of the loop, and it helps maintain transparency and continuity for everybody involved. Yeah, it helps avoid any confusion as well. So ultimately, I'd say that the key to smooth collaboration is effective communication. The steps that I've mentioned help just to try and develop a good trust between all the parties involved and ensure that everyone is working towards the best outcomes for the people that we support, which is obviously our ultimate goal.
Brilliant. Thank you, Calley. I think collaboration can naturally bring together different opinions, skills, knowledge, priorities, both advantages and challenges. So it is great to have a clear structure and format to follow. I know I always benefit from meeting notes. I don't know where I'd be without meeting notes sometimes. So summaries do help clarify memory later on too, as well as catch people up, like you say, that might be out of the loop. So thank you for reflecting on your experience of collaborating within your community to operate and deliver your befriending service to the benefit of your stakeholders. Also great to highlight the importance of developing trust for all involved. I think, as Katie touched on in our opening speech this morning, about doing with and, everyone feeling part of it and feeling of equal parts. So Stuart, you're next. I'll hand back over to Hayley.
Thank you. So Stuart, last time we caught up, you were telling me about your idea of adapting the service to help accommodate the needs of your community. And it's always great to learn about projects who are adapting and rising to challenges, and great for everyone here to hear a great working example of how to do this. So how have you collaborated with your community and other organisations to address the needs of your service users and to meet challenges that the services face, such as volunteer recruitment?
Yeah, so I'll do a wee quick introduction before I go into it. Sorry, my name is Stuart. I am the Engagement and Development Lead for CASE. So it's a fancy title for Volunteering, Befriending and Marketing Manager. And CASE is Commonwealth Action for Care of the Elderly. So we support older, vulnerable and isolated people within the north part of North Lanarkshire, so Commonwealth, Kilsyth and the Northern Corridor. And for us, the charity has like totally gone from strength to strength, which is what we wanted. All of our services from non-regulated day support, group activities and befriending is full, and it's loads of waiting lists, which is great. And it shows like funders how important we are and how vital the service is for the community, and kind of how lost not only older people but carers would be as well. But on the flip side of that, there's loads of new challenges that us as a charity haven't faced before. The demand for the service has grown exponentially, and like so many charities, there's a lot of pressure with not a lot of funding. Particularly when it comes to volunteer recruitment. Volunteers have been and always will be our lifeline. They do so many things for us, and that's kind of where the collaboration started with 3 of our local high schools. So we are working with the developing youth workforce to sort of combat the challenges that we're facing, but also the challenges that the schools are facing in terms of getting pupils more employability skills and more soft skills. So we have got 2 mainstream high schools and 1 ASN school, which has been a really unique but really fun experience. And it's created loads of intergenerational opportunities for us. So not only has the project reduced some of the strain for us as staff and on the service, but it's also opened, I'm going to be like really cheesy without like throughout this, so I apologise, but it's been genuinely like really loads of heartwarming opportunities and really heartwarming like comments that have come from both our older people and the high school pupils. So because we have brought in youth volunteers, we have developed more structured group befriending. So it's not necessarily like an ad hoc drop-in. There's a lot more structure where the younger people are developing a set of like 6 to 8 week activities that they are co-designing with myself in the school. And we bring our older folk. So whether it's like looking at storytelling or whether it's art projects or whether it's been cookery classes, it's been like a really powerful reminder for us about how like simple facilitation can bring such really close positive connections. And for the schools, we have really highlighted that things like empathy, confidence building, events planning, resource management, all the stuff that the schools don't necessarily have like the time or resources to teach and provide. We've been able to do it with them and kind of for them. And for our service users, they have felt more valued, more energized. They feel like they're part of something like really meaningful, which is really nice. And again, really cheesy comment, but friendship has no age limit. And whilst we're keeping it all appropriate, it's really nice because there are genuine like meaningful connections, and it's really cute seeing wee Mairi partner with Tommy and like talk about all the stuff that they're talking about now. We're also using this time to bridge the gap between the generational divide. For our community in particular, there is a lot of anxiety between both age groups about each age group. So this has been a really good time to educate and reduce that gap for us in terms of not every teenager that you see is going to like walk across the street and like stab you or like try and steal your shopping. So it's been really nice to just kind of break all those barriers down. And the current block is with our art department in one of the schools. So they are doing all different types of like abstract art, realism, loads of other art terms that I don't quite understand, but it's all amazing. And at the end of the block, we are doing a small showcase that we're inviting the rest of our service and local community people just to see what not only the school have achieved, but what our older people have. So it's been really nice to build confidence with both groups and develop new skills. And whilst it's all really positive and whilst it's been like really great and fun and magical, there has been quite a few challenges, and kind of similar to what Calley had mentioned, earlier, communication is very much key. Currently at the moment, between just with the timelines of when we're doing this, the schools are under a lot of pressure with like prelims and, as they've called it, Mad March, which is all their folio and their exam prep is coming up. So for both sides, we've had to be really, really realistic about what we can actually do in the time frame that we've got. So if anyone is doing this, start small and start realistic of maybe just like a couple of weeks introduction and then move on to maybe like longer term sessions where it's fully planned out and there's smaller focuses, because you don't know what comes your way and schools are really busy. But it's been such an amazing experience because even though we're at the early stage, there's been so much creativity and connection, and it's just been really nice and wholesome. So yeah.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Stuart. And it's great to see PACE growing, but also staying true to your mission of supporting older people. And it's also really great to hear about the intergenerational approach to addressing the volunteer shortage. It's really powerful to hear. And obviously, of course, the partnership with the local schools and the additional support needs schools. So you're not only meeting the practical needs, but also really creating social value. Yeah, so great to see relationships built on that mutual enrichment. And I just think it really sends a strong message to support future volunteer recruitment and help cater to everybody who cater to all of your referrals. So thank you, Stuart. I'm going to hand back to Victoria, I think. Thank you. Oh, you're muted, Victoria.
Of course, I was the one to do that today. So, talking of referrals, the Welcoming Association is also very high in demand. Chiara, one of my perks of living in Edinburgh is that I get a front row seat to the inspiring work at the Welcoming. Having attended your AGM in the past, I know firsthand the fantastic work your organisation does to support New Scots, refugees and asylum seekers. I recently learned about the innovative approaches the Welcoming Association has taken to respond to growing demand and the challenges of volunteer recruitment, a topic that's always very high on the list in the network. Could you share with our attendees how collaboration and partnership have helped you address this issue and what key lessons you've taken from the experience?
Yes, sure. Just to give a little bit of a background, the Welcoming is based in Edinburgh, as Victoria said, and we have about 5,900 registered members now, with an average of 30 new registration every week. So the demand for our befriending services and activities have been constantly increasing, and I'm sure that you will all agree with me that one-to-one befriending is fantastic, but is also very time and resource consuming and intensive, and we only have a very small team at the Welcoming. Volunteer recruitment as well, one-to-one befriender recruitment can be quite time consuming, and so to respond to the growing demand, we complement one-to-one with group befriending activities, which we found to be extremely beneficial for our community. We have regular and ad hoc group activities like conversation groups, walking nature, cycling, community outing, and a lot of many other activities, which allow us to support a higher number of individuals. So on average, about 400 individuals benefit from our group befriending. At the same time, thanks to the group befriending, but also through one-to-one befriending, we were able to develop great partnership and collaboration with other local organization and institution. For example, as part of the group befriending, we have regular gardening session at the Royal Botanic Gardens. We have a monthly creative writing group with Open Book. We have guided walks with the Ramblers and the Water of Lift Conservation Trust. The list is very long, so I could spend all day talking about our various collaboration. But the point is that through these collaboration, we're able to increase our capacity and deliver a diverse and engaging program of both one-to-one and group activities that we will never be able to deliver ourselves. talking about capacity, of course, is good to acknowledge that also building and maintaining partnership and collaboration, it is time consuming. And there have been times myself that I was like, oh, like I would love to do that, but I know that that will require meetings and follow up and so on. But generally, I think it is worthwhile the time that you invest in building those collaborations and building those trust that was mentioned this morning, because it helps us to expand our offer, but also brings in new idea and energy into the program. So I highly advise that approach.
Thank you so much. The topic of capacity is constantly raised at our events, in emails, on calls. I think everyone would certainly relate to you on the strain of resources that can be caused through the one-to-one befriending provision. We certainly recommend offerings such as group befriending and activities to support those on waiting lists, if not just stakeholders in general. And it sounds as if the welcoming has really taken advantage of the availability and opportunities in the local community. And of course, Stuart spoke earlier about expanding resources through exploring community resources as well. So such wonderful and inspiring examples of partnership and collaboration. I'm sure everyone right now in their mind is thinking who they can collaborate with in their area. So hopefully people are jotting down some ideas, but I'll hand back over to you, Hayley.
Thanks, Victoria. So the next question is going to be for Nicola at Space Broomhouse. So one method of collaboration that we expect all of you to be very familiar with is the role of the Board of Trustees or directors and expanding knowledge and experience and skills within a team. So the role of the board is to provide strategic oversight, to ensure good governance and to uphold the charity's mission, values and accountability. So collaborating with a charity on its governance involves working in partnership with trustees and senior staff to strengthen structures, clarify roles and responsibilities, and to support effective decision-making that promotes transparency, sustainability, and impact. So Nicola, when we assessed Space Broomhouse for the Quality Award, I learned about the important role of your governance committee. So could you please share a bit about share with the attendees the collaborative procedure of Space towards governance?
Yes,
Tell us
certainly.
a bit about that.
Hi everyone, my name's Nicola Campbell and I am the project manager for Space for Youth Befriending in the city of Edinburgh. And when we talk about governance at Space Broomhouse, what really stands out is the collaborative, how collaborative it is. Our trustees aren't just sitting about around a table making decisions. Each one is linked to a key area of our work. So for example, one trustee would be aligned with children and families, one trustee may be aligned with finance. So before every board meeting, that trustee meets with the manager to go through what we call a one-page flash report. It's really just a quick summary of what's going well, what's changing, what needs attention. And then they bring that to the board so that everyone stays connected and informed. We also make sure that the board hears directly from all the projects. So on a rotation, different teams come along and do a presentation or a PowerPoint update. It also keeps the conversation grounded and what's actually happening on the ground, you know, the staff that are delivering the services. And it also gives staffs and volunteers a real voice in governance. In fact, we actually encourage volunteers to join the board. It helps to make sure that decisions reflect real life experience and not just policy. So for example, one of my volunteers who's been with me since 2017 is on our board of trustees. So he's got a really good insight and a really good understanding of the befriending, but also from the trustees' point of view. On top of that, we've got a dedicated governance subgroup that looks after all our policies. We manage these using an RACI framework. So for every policy, we know exactly who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who's informed. So for instance, our child protection policy, the CEO is responsible, the board is accountable, the befriending manager is consulted, and the staff and volunteers are informed. Each policy has a review schedule, so those reviews are done in partnership with the people that they may affect. So it's structured so that, but it's also very inclusive. So overall, it means that our governance is not just about compliance, it's about collaboration, it's about learning, and it's about keeping the values of the heart at what we do. Is very important to us.
Absolutely. That's very thorough. And in terms of time management around that, how does Space approach that collaborative method to ensure that it's efficient?
In terms of time management, we're really conscious about the collaboration, that the collaboration only works if it's well organised. So our frontline staff use a timesheeting system that records their hours. It helps keep everyone stay accountable. It ensures workloads are balanced, and it gives a clear view of how time is being spent across the projects. Our project manager also has access to everyone's diaries, which makes coordination much smoother. Meetings, cover and support can be planned effectively without lots of back and forth. We have regular team meetings where staff share updates, highlight any challenges, and we plan together. So communication happens really clearly and collectively. Although we do predominantly work remotely, we do make a point of having at least 1 or 2 days in the office face-to-face every week. So that helps with communication as well. For any upcoming tasks that require extra effort outside their day-to-day work, we make sure that they're diarised, so if everything's in their diaries and we have access to our team's diaries. And then it's a series of dedicated meetings to work towards whatever that outcome is. This helps us plan properly. It also helps us allocate time fairly and make sure that everyone is prepared for what's planned ahead. We also operate on an out-of-hours call rota, which ensures support is always available, but shared fairly across the team. So obviously our befriending takes place out of school hours because it's children that we support. So between 3:30 and 8:30, Monday to Thursday, a Friday afternoon, and a Saturday between 11 and 3. We have an on-call rota that there's an allocated staff member on each night, and we have a rota, we do one in every 4 Saturdays. So overall, our approach to time management is about clarity, planning and coordination. We put structures in place that allow people to focus on delivering quality support, not juggling admin, and that's what keeps our collaborative approach efficient and sustainable.
That's fab. Thank you so much for sharing, Nicola. And we know that from our members that capacity is a really hot topic. So yeah, thank you for sharing those approaches to time management. That's much appreciated. So Jean, now I think there you are. I found you on my screen. So one method of collaboration and partnership is the process of co-design. So co-design brings together lived experience, lived expertise, cultural knowledge, and professional experience to learn from each other and to make things better by design. So co-design often centers on community, on cooperation and inclusion of stakeholders, and it's about empowering groups to feel valued and to feel heard. So we were really impressed with Volunteer Glasgow and the co-design approach that you took to the service's code of conduct. So could you tell our attendees a little bit about why this approach was chosen and what your recommendations would be for anyone here today who is considering a co-design approach?
Yes, thank you. Yes, our code of conduct for adults working with young people was necessitated by the demands of a funding application. So as a staff team, we knew what we thought it ought to cover, but none of us is under 18. It also presented a real opportunity for us to engage young people in policy design or service design at policy level. It's and I'm sure it is for everybody, it's bread and butter for young people to work with a support worker to design their befriending service and to direct it on an ongoing basis. But policy development and review doesn't happen every day. We were fortunate at the time that we had a group work programme running. So we already had a group of young people who were accustomed to working together, to sharing their opinion, to discussing things and reaching a consensus. So we were able to construct activities that generated conversation about about relationships, about respect, about power and balance, and about behaviours. However, that process alone would have excluded the views of young people who weren't in that group, simply because they didn't come from that part of Glasgow, or they weren't in that age bracket, or they were already matched with a befriender, or they just weren't comfortable in a group setting. We also wanted to be confident that our code of conduct addressed issues around diversity and ethnicity. The young people engaged with YPBS don't reflect, and didn't at that time reflect, the diversity of cultural backgrounds in Glasgow. And realistically, at any one time, that's never going to happen. So we always recognised that any set of views that we took was going to be a snapshot. In engaging young people out with the group, we used those tried and tested befriending principles about approaching the individual. The 8-year-old boy doesn't use vocabulary like respect or informed choice, but he knows what he thinks about adults who boss him about and don't explain things. The young woman whose view has been dismissed or ignored in the past, she's not going to want to be fooled again. And, you know, the skilled artist who might be better able to express their view pictorially or graphically better in that setting than trying to do it verbally. So if I can give you 5 takeaways. First of all, keep asking people, keep engaging people. Each new view that you take enhances or enriches your design project. Think about tapestry. Secondly, give yourself and the process lots of time. Your design project will have a value way beyond the funding application deadline. 3, build on existing relationships. Giving your view is a risky thing to do. It requires a level of trust. Fourthly, show people the results. Let them see what you did with their contribution and how their contribution affected what you do on an ongoing basis. And lastly, use different tools for different folks. But that's kind of teaching people to suck eggs, because you guys knew that already.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing that, Jean. So as you all know, hopefully we're big champions of co-design and co-production, as it really just shares power, it builds capacity and encourages participation and a sense of ownership, and also really provides insights that we might not be able to get to on our own. And as you say, each new view enriches your design. So at Befriending Networks, we value the input of our members, and through methods such as our membership survey, we learn what's working, where improvements might be made, and we hope that you have access to our latest Befriending Networks Sector Insight Report, which was created in October 2025, because this collates the data and the insight from all of you as members to build a strong representation of befriending and the successes and of the challenges. Thank you very much, Jean. Mairi, I'm going to be speaking to you next. So when I was assessing befriending projects for the Quality Award, it's a great opportunity to gather insight into the inner operations of an organisation, and there are occasionally very unique decisions being made. So Mairi, when Shetland Befriending Project was being assessed, we were really impressed to learn of the interagency approach to safeguarding and child protection. So compared with some of our attendees today, geographically, Shetland might be better suited to this approach than others might be, but I think it would still be really of interest for everyone to learn about how this began. So could you tell everyone a little bit about how your interagency approach was developed and any key advantages that, for this method of collaboration?
Yeah, thank you very much, Calley. Yeah, so the Shetland Interagency Child and Protection Procedure started being developed in response to public bodies' joint work in Scotland Act back in 2014, the legislation that was put down by them. So in Shetland previously, separate agencies operated within their own remits, with sometimes led to gaps in communication and support for vulnerable and children and adults. To address this, key stakeholders, Shetland Islands Council, NHS Shetland, Shetland Public Protection, police and voluntary organisations came together to establish a shared vision for child and adult protection across Shetland, which should be used by all the agencies within the Isle. This ensured that all relevant organisations were actively involved and committed to the safeguarding strategy from the very start, which was very, very positive for the voluntary sector, because on many occasions, although we don't like to say, we're the ones that kind of get left behind. And I guess what's unique in Shetland is the inclusion of us all being there right from the beginning. Key advantages for the Shetland Interagency approach, I would say, definitely improved information sharing. So including the sharing of care plans, such as GIRFIC plans for children and With You For You for adults, which some people might not know what that is, but in Shetland we also have we're lucky enough to, our local council has plans in place very similar to GIRFIC for all adults that needs to have them in place for them. Regular communication between the agencies, reducing the risk also of critical information being overlooked, therefore enabling early identification to the children and adults that are at risk. By using expertise and resources, the approach addresses the complex needs of children and adults and families more effectively than single agency response. Shared protocols and joint decision making to ensure a consistent response, minimising duplication of efforts and preventing children and adults, I guess, from slipping through the net, which happens, we know, across many areas. A big benefit is also the staff from shared training and support throughout all agencies. So agencies all coming together for shared training. So the training that's being delivered is what's being then used across all the different agencies involved. And I guess it gives it a good confidence in managing challenging cases with the training that's been given. The transparency and accountability of multi-agency approach helps build stronger trust within the community and reassuring the public the safeguarding is also the priority. I guess the approach shows a power of collaborative working up here in Shetland, and it's developed within the shared commitment to children and adult welfare, and its ongoing success lies in the continued partnership and communication along and amongst all agencies involved throughout Shetland. The model not only involves outcomes for vulnerable children and adults, but also strengthens the wider community's confidence in the local safeguarding arrangements that are currently in place. I've shared the Safer Shetland webpage link with Haley for everybody to have a look at, and I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. And Haley is going to share that, well, along with other material, I guess, from the conference. But on another note, I would just like to say that we have just celebrated our 25th anniversary of the Shetland Befriending Scheme. And I would like to also say thank you very much to Befriending Networks for their support over the years, because it has been very encouraging, and the support that we've received from you has been absolutely amazing. And here's for the next 25. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, congratulations. That was a really fantastic overview, so thank you. It's really inspiring to see how Shetland has led the way in creating such a cohesive and collaborative safeguarding framework. And so bringing together the council, NHS Shetland, police, voluntary organisations and other partners under that shared vision really demonstrates how powerful collective responsibility can be. And your summary of the benefits really highlights how well the interagency model works in practice. So that improved communication, consistent decision making, shared training, and ultimately there's stronger protection for vulnerable people. And the Safer Shetland initiative is a brilliant example of what can be achieved when everyone commits to that shared purpose. So again, congratulations on 25 years of making such a fantastic difference in your community, and here's to many more years of partnership, progress and positive change.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations on that milestone, Mary. It's great to see the collaborative co-design approach in action. I find collaborating with others, particularly from different projects and experiences, can be extremely rewarding and often a great change of pace or working style compared to silo tasks. One of the big perks of my role, facilitating events at Befriending Networks, is that I get to work with and meet befriending projects from all over. And on that note, our final example of collaboration and partnership brings us back to Age UK Merton. TAC, we have obviously met several times at different training and events. In 2025, you and a colleague joined Befriending Networks for our Dementia and Befriending course. Our training always has a key focus on supporting staff to support their befrienders. And within this course, participants like you gain access to our dementia training toolkit and are provided with that train-the-trainer session. We met for a follow-up session after the training, once you had a chance to digest the course. TAC, could you please share how accessing our Dementia and Befriending course and resources led you to design your own dementia training for Age UK Merton?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much, Victoria. So yes, as you said, myself and a colleague attended the Dementia and Befriending training earlier in 2025. Find that very informative and made quite a lot of notes, like I did today. So once that that training was done, I tended to download the content and which was very good, but also made additional notes. So basically my task was I had to design a training course for volunteer befrienders that support clients who have a diagnosis of dementia. So really the training was to equip them with practical skills, but also to tips to how to support clients with dementia. So basically what we've done was with the background research, which is information that can be found publicly, I just kind of I drafted a version of dementia training alongside the information that we downloaded from your toolkit, as well as the notes that we made, did a draft version. And then obviously contact yourself, Victoria, for your expertise and try to kind of modify it so that it actually tailors towards our volunteers. Once that was done, obviously I got it signed off by my manager, and basically from that we have created our dementia training for our volunteers, and we are hopefully going to use it in the near future.
Brilliant. Thank you, TAC. At Befriending Networks, we offer free follow-up sessions to all training attendees, but it's quite rare for me to see how members go on to develop and personalize our toolkits. And you adapted it brilliantly, TAC, if I do say so myself, in terms of adding Age UK Merton's design, audience and objectives being catered to, and was very impressed by how you complemented our materials with all that excellent independent content as well. For anyone who may not be aware, Befriending Networks currently offers 3 training toolkits. We have our Befriender Training Toolkit, which, as most of you online are members, I really hope you already know about. That is free and you can access that on your dashboard. But we also have our Dementia and Befriending Training Toolkit, which TAC used to adapt and create for his service needs. And we also have our Bereavement and Befriending Training Toolkit, which is also available exclusively through our Bereavement and Befriending course. All the links to these are added to your delegate pack if anyone does want to know more. You'll find it in the blue column for segment 4. But for now, I will hand back over to Hayley.
Thank you. So the last thing to do is just to thank all of our panel members for sharing such a diverse range of examples. You really showcased collaboration and partnership and befriending. And it's just really fantastic to hear so many ideas, approaches and innovations just across the board. So we're going to invite all attendees now just to join a breakout